regardless of the outcome. Boost the positive energy without one. Sorry about the jab, I'm on the holy field. I'm bearing fruit, but demons try to eat them like Yoshi meals. I'll piss them off the Batman like Falcone deals. Jungle full of predators, I know how Mowgli feels. So I got the fire, refuse to live in fear. I can spot suppliers, eating fresh rolls.
Oh yeah, welcome to the bonus episode of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, sometimes the paranormal, but as of late, y'all, I've really been putting a lot of focus on health, and I'm trying to get everybody on here that can help all of us heal. And it's even better when we can use a natural healing modality. And folks, the one I'm going to have on today, you've seen her before, but I wanted to have her back on anyway to do something of an update and also find out the latest of what's happening out there with all the things that are going on and the things she has to help mitigate that. But before we get into it, this episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com. Turn that simp into a pimp. Bam! Heaven's Harvest, y'all, 10% off with promo code PERMA. All those seeds that we got out there right now in the high tunnel, they are ballin'. So go check them out. Remember, handle all your preparedness needs yourself. Everything you can't get, go check them out. Now, remember, if you'd like to listen to us in another modality, look, there's a reason why I'm not broadcasting live a lot of times, and it has to do with the fact that the powers that shouldn't be don't want a lot of this information to get out here. Well, Gina is slipping underneath the cracks with the information she's providing, so I can go live. For those that can't check it all out right now, I know a lot of people are at work. We're going to have the audio version of this, which is by far the most popular part of this podcast for all the people that can't listen to it. Or maybe you're outside like I am. I'm working all the time. I'm a farmer, permaculture, pimp daddy farmer. And I'm listening to my podcasts out there anyway. So, that's going to be another way to go about it. But if you want to listen to your podcast in another platform altogether, go check it out on the Fountain app. Yeah, you can listen to all your podcasts over there. You can even triple up the speed. And if you would like to drop a derivation of Bitcoin that we call sats, it's short for Satoshi, which I'm actually able to pronounce now. If you want to drop a SAT on a PIMP, go do it over there on the Fountain app. Remember, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. But I'm bringing on one of our sponsors today, y'all, because it's been the one that honestly has been the most impactful in my life, and Michelle's as well. Unfortunately, she's not here right now to get on here and give an amen, but I'm telling y'all, Redemption Shield, promo code PERMA will get you 10% off. Their stuff is off the meat wagon. I'm a 27, I keep saying 25, but I'm a 27-year IBEW journeyman electrician. I've been doing this stuff for a long, long time, y'all. Of all the people out there, this is why I'm working. Remember, y'all, Redemption Shield didn't hit me up. I hit them up. I hit up all these companies out here selling blocking, shielding, all kinds of stuff, and asked them, hey, would you let me test it and reveal the results to my audience? Gina from Redemption Shield is the only one that got back with me and not only said, hey, test it, but if it's wrong, let me know and I'll fix it. So with that said, y'all, I'm bringing on, she's going to be my co-host today. We're going to call her my co-host. This is Gina from Redemption Shield. How you doing, Gina?
I'm great. How are you, Billy?
I'm good. Great to have you on here and it's really, really great because since the first time I spoke to you until now, there's been a lot of things that happened, whether in the world around us, but also in my life and the life of my wife as well, who's basically taking this stuff onto another level. In fact, right here, y'all, if you think I'm lying, I know a lot of times you don't see me as I'm broadcasting because a lot of you are listening to the audio version. I'm going to reach down and I'm going to show you what my feet are on every single time I'm broadcasting. Stand by. Bam! I just ordered 3 more of these. Gina could vouch for it. I just bought 3 more of these, and I used, my own promo code, and because I'm sick of dragging these things all over the house. We got one in both bathrooms, in the living room. We got 2 of them out there. We got one up here. We just gave one to my mother-in-law because the results have been nothing short of astounding. Now, Gina, before I go to you, I want to tell you something, and everybody else out there. I was listening to a recent podcast, and this is one of those podcasts that you're never going to catch on YouTube. You're going to have to catch it on Rumble. And they had Dr. Eads, Dr. Group, and Dr. Artis on there. And they have a conference coming up called the Healing for the Ages Conference. And for those that don't know, I've been doing a whole lot looking into biohacking and stuff like that. What I didn't expect was Dr. Eads to go into about a 15-minute dissertation about the benefits of grounding. And for all of you folks that are working in, let's say you're doing office work, or let's say you're outside, or whatever the case may be, the benefits of grounding, Dr. Eads went into it, 15 minutes worth about it is the only true effective way of healing yourself from EMF damage. Now, there's something to be said about shielding as well, and I'm sure Gina will get into that. But with that, Gina, I want to throw it over to you and ask you, first of all, how you doing and what's the latest?
Well, first of all, I have to say, bam. I've got my mat too.
Oh yeah. Now, how do you use it? Because I know you can use it. It's pretty handy that you could use it on your desk if you're going to be typing or anything like that. But it seems to me I feel the most impact when it's on my feet, where, by the way, where most of these nerve endings are kicking. So how do you use it?
I use it all over the place. So I actually have two at my computer desk. So I have the long one that you just showed right underneath my laptop. And then my hand touches that when I'm using my mouse. And then I also have one on the floor because I usually am barefoot. And so either I have a foot on my mat or a hand on a mat. So you know how you kind of move around at your desk, you're not always touching with your hand, or maybe you're typing and just forgot to put your foot on the mat. So I kind of have both just so I have to remind myself, okay, put my foot on the mat. So this has just literally changed my life, just like you were saying with you and Michelle. I tell you, my health in around 2017, 18 was not very good. And I was working around these powerful laptops doing training videos, and I was constantly uploading videos. And when you're uploading large amounts of content, and building these videos, it's like your laptop comes alive. And so I was just getting zapped. And I know I had microwave poisoning at that time. And it was affecting everything. And my ears were ringing, and everything became heightened. So even the Wi-Fi in the room, I could hear that. I can hear printers. And it hasn't really subsided with my ears, but it has helped with my health overall. Now, I think the issue with the tinnitus is more than just the Wi-Fi and the things in my home, but I live in a small community, and every house has Wi-Fi. So when you go in to look at your Wi-Fi, you're seeing 30 Wi-Fis. And that's the nice thing about being out in the country. You don't have everyone's Wi-Fi, coming at you, but then also the towers. So all of these things kind of coming at us, and we can only control so much.
Well, what's another great benefit for me living where I do is A, there are no towers near me, and B, well, we do have fiber optics coming in here. And then of course we got the Wi-Fi, which we turn off as often as possible. But one thing it really is helpful for where I live is that when I was testing your products, it allowed me to give a honest test without any influence of anything else around me. So right. I was able to actually take this stuff, put it in, which by the way, I got right here. This is one of those Faraday bags. And by the way, y'all, look, there's a lot of people out there selling Faraday bags. I'm just going to say it because I think you should be embarrassed by it. I bought that one from InfoWars, and even my old phone would work through that bag. If your phone is operational through that bag, it is not doing its job as a Faraday bag. And Gina's bag, I stuck my phone in here, my brand new iPhone, which by the way, I have right over here, stuck it in that bag, and nothing would transmit out of it. And that's what I'm talking about. Now, I want to also say that on the heels of what you were just saying, Dr. Eads was talking about that even if you're holding your electronic bugging device, or it's an iPad like I got right here, you can mitigate all of the negative effects immediately, because the RF radiation won't even go through you. It will immediately go to ground as long as you are grounded. So that is absolutely key. Whether you're working in an office environment, which, by the way, like you said a moment ago, you're getting absolutely decimated with those, whether it's your phone, your iPad, your computer, and the Wi-Fi that they have around those places. Dr. Eid said the only effective, truly effective way of mitigating all of this stuff in real time is that even as I'm holding this thing, if I am grounded at the same time, it cannot even take hold for a moment into my body. And then the benefits of the grounding that he went on to explain is that if you were to take this floored me, and it wasn't just him, it was other people like biohackers like Gary Brecka and a number of others that have stated that if you take a blood microscopy of a person who is ungrounded, and you look at that blood, whether they have been, I got to speak carefully here, whether they've been injected or not, the blood platelets of that person are going to be stacked on top of one another. And the moment you ground that person, they spread apart, allowing your blood to carry more hemoglobin and all the other stuff. So this is a healing modality that every MD out there should be talking about, but most of them think MD stands for medical deity. And nobody's out there talking about this except for the naturopaths and the chiropractors and a number of other of the people that work in these natural healing modalities. So, Gina, I'm sorry, I don't mean to monologue on here. It's about you, but I'm so doggone excited.
Oh, no, I'm so glad that you share, because we all need to be talking about this, because it is such a big deal. And that's one of the reasons why it's great that we can have this podcast, so we can talk about things that are up and coming that maybe you're not familiar with. And so I wanted to shed some light on a couple issues that have transpired since my last visit to your show. Just in April, the Explore Act was passed. It was a bipartisan agreement to improve the national parks. And so it's got some really great benefits to it. You know, it's helping the handicap, lowering some fees. There's some great little things thrown into this. And isn't this pretty typical that there's always this, hey, there's this great thing, but what they didn't tell people and what was kind of hidden in the paperwork, in the book of paperwork, was that they're going to put cell towers now. Will have full reign to put cell towers, broadband, anything they want in national parks, in forests, anywhere they want. And so this was a really big issue. I really tried to draw awareness to this. I would add different senators, different congressmen to my Twitter posts, trying to say, hey, we need to go back and look at this, because this is very dangerous for the animals. And I mean, can you imagine, why do we need big cell towers in our national forests? It's just ridiculous. And this is really paving the way for them to continue to monitor you and I everywhere we go. And so we know the bigger picture. And that's the sad part, is that, you know, we all enjoy our phone. All of us have to use a phone. We have to use certain things. But you go back and you look, why don't we have landline phones anymore? You almost can't find that. And we've moved away from the Ethernet. And so many folks are going back to Ethernet. So going back to this Explore Act, it was very disappointing, being aware of what was going to happen and watching that pass bipartisanly. That was really sad. So please be aware of what our Congress is doing, what they're passing, because sometimes, you know, we're so busy with our lives, we're not really aware of the repercussions after these things have been passed. And it's like, you know, you can draw as much attention, but they have to make these decisions. That's why we put them in their positions, right? So it's just education. And I appreciate you having me come on, because if we're not talking about it, how will people be able to talk to their lawmakers? How will they ever be able to get involved if we're not shedding light on these areas?
Well, Gina, I'm sure, like all the other things, every single decimation to our Constitution and our personal liberties, they always weave it into, it's going to be a safety issue. Now, I haven't looked into it personally, but I will bet a buffalo nickel that the reason they said we need to do this in the national parks, or they were sold on it, is, oh my goodness, look how, so few people will come up missing if we can constantly ping their cell phones, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, they're out there Kentucky frying all the trees everywhere they put up a 5G tower, all the trees around it, or they remove all the trees around it because they know it's going to wipe out not only the trees, but the wildlife around it. Everything is getting Kentucky fried. And folks, you don't even have to look that far. Look, the House of Representatives just a few days ago passed legislation that's going to do away with your First Amendment. So it's not too hard to stretch. And what I mean by that, when I say your First Amendment, keep in mind that's freedom of speech. It's not just one thing. It's your freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to assemble peaceably and petition the government. There's 5 things held under that First Amendment, but most of us, if we even know it at all, are aware of only, freedom of speech, but there's so much else included into it. But as always, Gina, they piggyback safety, public safety, or it's for the common good on the heels of all these diabolical things. And that's exactly what it is, y'all, because they know the effects that this stuff happens. Maybe not at some of the mid levels, but I know the people at the people holding the puppeteer strings, all of those people are well aware of what's happening here. And but look on the bright side. Man, I really hate to say it this way, but man, if you do look on the bright side, there are ways, like I said a moment ago, to mitigate a lot of what's going on right here. And Gina sells a lot of it. That's why she didn't reach out to me. I reached out to her. And being a journeyman electrician, unlike a lot of the other folks that may advertise this stuff, unlike all of those folks, look, I know how to test this stuff. This is my career. This is what I've done for 27 years of my life. I know how to test this stuff, and her stuff works. So, Gina, I do want to hit you up with a couple of other modalities offline as far as that might be able to help in terms of grounding.
Yeah.
But as far as what does work right now, I know you got a few things that are in the pipe. A few other products that are helping to shield and ground. And before we get into that, look, there's a lot of people out here. This stuff just makes my heart absolutely turn when people saying they're actually buying this stuff. And look at this. I better read this also for the people that aren't going to be able to watch this live. We got Danelle says, I love my grounding mats, use them a ton here in the fall and the winter. And then we got another one here says, I really want a sheet. I got a mattress from a different company. It doesn't work well. Sad I got them before I heard about Redemption Shield. Look, I tried her stuff, y'all. You can take a multimeter, and I've done this. You can take a multimeter, put yourself, okay, here's how you know for sure. And Gina, I don't know if you have it handy with you, but well, I'm going to hand it over to you for a minute so you can demonstrate exactly how this works, because I've done it with everything out there. Go ahead, fire away.
So all of these electronics are emitting electrons, and they're positive, and that doesn't mean they're good. Positive electrons are bad for our body. They say it's like rust to our blood. So all of these devices emit these positive ions, and so we need negative ions to counteract that. We get that when we're grounded. So we get these little negative ions coming up through our body, and they counteract these positive ions. So I'm going to show you how this works. So I have a basic multimeter here, and I'm going to hold one end. I want to make sure the lighting you can see. So right now I am using AC voltage.
For the record, you don't have a basic. You have the best multimeter money can buy. That's a fluke. So
that's a fluke. Yeah. So right now in my body holding this red probe, the other probe is plugged into the ground. And so Billy can confirm. And now what I'm going to do is I have my grounded mat right here. I'm going to I'll try to do this so you can see me, because it's hard when I put things down. Okay. So I'm holding, this is my voltage in my body.
2.2.
Touch the mat.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'm going to lift up on the mat, and all those electrons come right back in your body. So the minute you ground, you're down to 0.031. When you lift up, you're at 2.2 volts. So all of that was released out of my body right when I touched my mat or my grounding sheets. What does that mean? It means that you're not carrying that inflammation in your body. It releases inflammation, so you're recovering quicker from a workout, like Michelle did when she did her long walk and she was carrying that backpack. When she grounded, she was releasing those positive electrons, and she was getting those negative ions coming up, and they were healing her body. Grounding is number one. With all of the electronics that are coming down the pike, when we're talking about 6G, we're talking about levels of radiation or microwave radiation that we've ever seen. Grounding will be the most critical thing that all of us need to be doing. And we need to start now, because right now we are being bombarded with these positive electrons. Okay, so Billy, do you want to confirm that? Because I love when an electrician can speak to that.
Yeah. When you test this stuff, y'all, and you can test it all day long. I mean, I was first a little bit dubious because I'm looking at the wire and I'm like, man, this stuff there's going to be so much resistance in this. It's not going to work. So I thought it was a hoax at first. And then all of a sudden I tried it, and then I realized, okay, you don't need a big wire to be able to get the necessary results. And it absolutely makes all the difference. Now, I'm going to discuss Colleen Bowman, her response for a moment, and then I'm going to talk about what Dr. Eads and Dr. Artis recently said. I'm talking days ago, y'all, in this podcast, and it's on the heels of what Colleen says. Says my knees for months ached when I went to bed, and it caused me to toss and turn. I took one night sleeping on the sheets and no more aching in my knees. Now, I want to also bring this over to what I was shocked that these guys who I look up to in a big way, I was shocked they didn't know this, but both of them described that they're both night owls because they're spending all of this time researching. And in fact, the Healing for the Ages conference that's coming up, that's going to be in Dallas, Texas. They also have the online version of it, which I'm going to be attending. It's all about EMF and how to mitigate it. And the two of them did not know what Gina already knows and what I knew. And so for the first time ever, they were describing in this podcast that, a person they knew sold these sheets, or in what she thought invented the sheets. They didn't know that Gina already sold them. They took those sheets, and for the first night ever, because these guys wake up late, they're like, man, we weren't even comparing notes at the time until this podcast. And then all of a sudden we're finding out that both of us are waking up early, but absolutely rejuvenated and blown away at the results. What they didn't even these well-known doctors did not know is that you could ground yourself while you sleep, and all these things. I mean, you're not being bombarded through the night, because let's talk about it. When you're on a bed, folks, you are not grounded unless that bed is made of some kind of natural fiber and it's literally touching the ground. In most cases, you are not. I don't care how good your cotton sheets or that Egyptian cotton or silk or satin, whatever it is you use. Look, if it's not grounded, it's not doing you any good. Well, Gina sells the sheets where, you can be grounded all night long, as Colleen is saying right here. And folks, you will notice the difference immediately. Another phenomenon that was happening is that I have this habit of getting up several times during the night to go pee. Not just me, but a lot of other guys, especially my age. All of a sudden, y'all, that either goes away, depending on how much water I drink before I go to bed. That you will also notice that doesn't happen anymore. And if it does, the frequency is diminished or removed altogether. So, Gina, back to you. I'm sure you got to be hearing from other customers out there about some of the benefits that are happening while using some of your stuff. You'd like to share any of that with us?
I hear about stories every day that lives are being changed. And, I want to touch on the topic, and I'm going to share some stories here before I want to do that. The topic of shielding. Some people are concerned about shielding because maybe you make yourself more like an antenna. But when you're grounded and shielded, that's a whole different story. And so we have these blankets that we made of 100% cotton and silver. They ground you and they shield you. So those electrons that are coming at you, even if you're shielded, are going right through your body. They aren't, attaching to you and causing inflammation. So shielding can be an amazing modality if you do it right. And here's the thing, we're not going to be trying to put ourselves in a dangerous situation with all of these towers. I mean, I've had people put on a hat and tell me immediately a headache went away. I mean, right away. So I know that and it's not just that. I mean, I can tell even by using a meter, which I think I showed you this last time, but this is just the frequencies right here. I mean, it's crazy, the frequencies that we're experiencing. So, we have things that we can do. You shouldn't be afraid of grounding or shielding. And the best situation is to do both at the same time. So you can wear an apron in front of your computer to protect your upper body, especially for women with breast cancer on the rise. We should be wearing something over our body, or maybe even a scarf where you can put that over your front here area and then ground yourself while you're working. But I want to tell you about a lady that was so debilitated by the EMF. She almost was like handicapped in the sense she couldn't even walk. She couldn't get out of bed. It was that bad. And she called me and she said, I want to try the canopy. I want to do the grounding. She got the blanket. She's got all the mats. I'm telling you, she calls me and messages me all the time. Her whole life has changed. So we're seeing lives changed from these modalities of protection. So this is exciting to be part of. It's exciting to talk about because I know how it's changing lives. I've had so many people, and you can see over 700 5-star reviews. I mean, it's very rare that I even get a 4. People are very happy with their purchases and they see the difference. It's not, hey, I'm just going to try it. No, they really see. They're not waking up as much at night. They're feeling more restful. They're dreaming. People, that's another thing. I don't know if you dream a lot since you've been grounding, Billy, but I dream all the time. I actually look forward to going to bed.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really wonderful when you can look forward to sleeping.
There's so many different ways in which, what was hardest for me to really figure out, and honestly embarrassing, because I am a journeyman electrician with almost 3 decades of experience doing this. And I got to be honest with you. When I first understood what was happening, I felt like a complete dunce. I was reluctant to even discuss it at first. And then my foolish pride kind of went away when I started doing this. And I'm like, hold on a minute. For example, I won't go through that example. I think it's more important to talk about where we are right now. Prime example for all the people out there. Now I'm going to have to speak a little phonetically because the powers that shouldn't be in this platform are not going to let me get away with it. But Michelle and I have noticed a phenomenon that when the sky has clouds that aren't necessarily natural, and I'll leave it up to you to figure out what I'm talking about here. We notice that our attitudes, our behavior, everything about us, especially as of late, and I'm talking this morning, where things were a little bit wacky and we're not behaving with one another the way we should. All of a sudden, I told her, hey, do your people care. And when I say that, she understands, got to do my deep breathing. And I'll tell you what, folks, if you even want to enhance what your mat is doing and what grounding is doing, do some serious Wim Hof breathing at the same time. She did that and then actually thanked me and said, wow, I feel so much better. And because we got to be reminded, we get so busy in our lives that we got to be reminded from time to time that these things help. Lately, and I've discussed it in the podcast, how I've been dealing with a great deal of anxiety. And it only seems to happen when we have unnatural clouds in the sky. And then, so what I've been doing, immediately, I pray, I get on my grounding mat if I'm able, or I go outside if I can. But here as of late, it's been raining every single day. So I go inside, put my feet on that mat, do a little bit of deep breathing, and then I'm back. I'm settled again. And there's a number of other people I know out there that have, look, even if you don't buy the mat, y'all, or the sheets or the shielding or whatever it is out there, put your doggone feet on the ground. Go out there, put your hands in the dirt, whatever. I don't care what it takes. You don't necessarily, the reason why I'm a big fan of the mats is that people, Gina, at the end of working their jobs every day, most people come home, they sit down, maybe they watch a little bit of TV. Well, if you're going to do that, at least ground yourself while doing it. Or you're working in your kitchen. Maybe you got one, you're doing dishes at the sink or whatever the case may be. Go out there and get this stuff done. This is exactly what I'm talking about, folks. I'm a big believer of this because I know that it works. And it was so simple that I was so embarrassed that I almost screwed up and let my foolish pride get ahead of me, thinking, okay, how embarrassing is it going to be, me as a journeyman electrician? And I didn't know this stuff for all these years. And now I'm just waking up to it. Well, foolish pride be damned, y'all. I'm letting everybody know. Wow, apparently the thumbs up, this thing does it all by itself. There's a thumbs up that just popped up on the screen.
You do that about 20 times.
Yeah, we'll just try that a couple more times. Yeah. So somebody told me if I do like the heart symbols, some other weird stuff will pop up. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
You knew. Well, that's exactly how I feel about grounding. So apparently they're,
Oh, that's great.
I guess if the powers it
For Michelle.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's all about it, y'all. I mean, I was telling people, in fact, in my last podcast, if a healing modality does not immediately work with her, she will not give it a second chance. She is the world's worst when it comes to trying to get her to try some of this stuff. And then when I told her to go do this, I mean, she is a big, big, big believer. And then, but all of us get busy and we kind of get caught behind the 8 ball a little bit here. So musician's wife says, how long does a cord for the sheet? I got an older home and there's a plug next to the bed. It's not grounded. The nearest grounded plug is roughly 10 feet away. Gina, what do you got to say to that?
So the cords are 15 feet long. And if you really live in a much older home, some homes don't even have grounding outlets. So in that case, we actually have at redemptionshield.com a rod that can go out into your yard, and it just literally goes into the ground, and that is 55 feet long. So if you're on the second floor, you're going to still be able to put that out your window and get it into the grass or to the dirt. So you can ground regardless. These cords are nice and long, so you don't have to worry about that, musician's wife. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. Rebecca's asking, hey, Billy, where do I go to so I can order one of these mats? Folks, it's not just a mat. She's got mat sheets. I mean, you name it. And then we were going to probably talk about some of the newer stuff she's got out as well. Go to redemptionshield.com. Promo code PERMA will get you 10% off. Check this out. So one of my frequent guests that came on before, Nathan Reynolds, actually, I believe, talked about this book. I'm currently reading The Invisible Rainbow, and it talks about this 1/3 of the population are able to sense a storm coming by the change in the atmospheric energy. Well, Gina's talking about that even with her own experience. Now, I'm not that sensitive where I can feel all that stuff, probably from years of working in high radiation environments where my sensitivity isn't really that high. I mean, my sensitivity is probably non-existent for the most part because I've worked around some 13,200 volt systems, 4160 volt systems, a lot of that stuff. But Gina, do you have anything to say about that as far as the sensitivity?
Yeah, I sure do. So God is so amazing because, and I'm a believer, but what's so amazing is that lightning actually brings these positive ions to get negative ions. So it counteracts these positive ions. And so the reason we're seeing extreme lightning and weather can coincide with all of the massive amounts of positive electrons in our environment. So a lot of people will start to get feelings of arthritis or inflammation before because they're actually getting those positive ions in their body. And so, yes, That is how people know a storm is coming, because the positive electrons are very strong. And that's why lightning hits the earth. And it's amazing how this kind of, and I'm not a scientist, but it's kind of basic 101. And you just kind of figure, it's amazing what God's shown me about this whole thing. And, but this is really what's happening. And isn't it amazing?
It is. It truly is. I was even, I'll tell you what else is amazing. I was doing a DIY thing of grounding, and I was doing it for my Patreon group. And I suggested, hey, if you didn't have a whole lot of money, to go do some of these alternatives. Well, it turns out the alternatives are just as expensive, and they don't work as well, because I was talking about these copper sheets. And yeah, it'll get the job done, but you're also going to stain your mattress at the same time. You don't use copper, you're using silver, which in my research and all this, well, silver is by far a much better conductor. Wow. So what percent of silver is actually in these, like, let's say in the, let's say it's the grounding stuff that you have for the bed. I mean, do you have variations of the amount of silver you can put in it?
So typically most bed sheets that you'll see on the market today are 5% silver content and silver ions. So this silver has been pretty standard, the 5%, for a long time. But I sell 10%, and I also have a flat sheet that's 35%. And I think you have that, Billy.
Mm-hmm.
So though I actually travel with the 35% silver flat sheet, because I want more silver content, and I wrap myself like a burrito in that. And it's 7 feet by 7 feet. So it's big enough that I can wrap myself in it, and it grounds you. So I love that part of it too. Now, the bed sheets are our #1 seller by far. I want to tell you the differences in the bed mat versus the bed sheet, because people ask me this all the time. Which one is better? Well, they're both good, and there's just pros and cons to both. If you sleep warm, and maybe you're in your 50s, you're going through menopause, you're not going to want the bed mat. That's going to keep you warm at night. So you're going to want the fitted sheet. So I recommend that. The sheets are not going to last a lifetime. They're like regular bed sheets. They're combed cotton. So the more you wash them, the more they wear. Okay. And the mat is going to last forever. So these are just things to think about, knowing your sleep, how you sleep. What are you going to do better with? For me, I sleep with the cotton bed sheets, and I love them. So, and I'm willing to get a new sheet every couple years if I need to. But right now, my sheet after a year is still grounding me. And I just simply test it with that multimeter, and I can know that I'm still getting ground. So that's really a multimeter, and an EMF or an RF meter nowadays should be in your toolbox. And I know it's in yours, Billy. So, multimeter, a lot of people don't really know, but I recommend the digital when you're doing a test. The other version, it's really hard to tell. And I've struggled with that one. And maybe you could figure that out, Billy, but I like the digital version. But an EMF meter, the one that I showed you earlier that made all that sound, this one's the HF35C. I like this because it makes the sound and you can hear it. If I have my Wi-Fi going right now in the house, so when I pull away, I don't know if you can hear this right now. That's just Wi-Fi in the air right now. But when I bring it close to the laptop, look at that. So I think hearing sometime is believing. Some people just need to hear that and go, oh, wow, there really is something coming off of this device. Because we just think of this little box, and we're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. But we're not hearing it and the radiation that's coming off of it. So I hope that helps a little bit in choosing, what thing is best for you, what modality.
I think you hit on something that is profound, really. What makes this so insidious and pernicious to me is the fact that it's invisible, is that you can't see it. Your five senses outside of your I don't even know. Maybe that's the sixth sense where you can detect some of this stuff. That's what makes it so awful. And the powers that shouldn't be know that it's happening. I just saw a video today of all these countries that are absolutely, I can't remember which country just recently said the latest iPhone, I think it was France.
France.
Yeah, the latest iPhone, you ain't selling it here unless you fix all this doggone radiation that is coming off of this thing. You're not going to sell it here in France. So they know the full extent of how awful these things are. So folks, look, you're going to have to be your own physician these days, and the best medicine is prevention, and that's why this grounding works so well. I want to hit with, okay, we got one from Danelle. It says, my husband is a trucker. We'll have to get him a blanket, as all the trucks now are large computers on wheels. So basically, he's sleeping in a computer. Check this out, y'all. When I did one of the tests a while back, I wish that I mean, it was going to be near impossible for me to allow this lady to let me do it. I was out there at a Whole Foods where I know they have those charging stations for Teslas. I went out there with my EMF meter, and I went up to the lady over there. Now, this is Asheville. And for those that can't see me right now, I might be a little bit brown, so she was very woke. I said, look, I got this meter, and I know this is very odd. Can I test your Tesla? Check this out, folks. With the door shut, this thing was pegging off the freaking chart. This thing wasn't even underway. It was just charging with the door shut. She let me put my arm inside with the meter, and this thing went off the flipping radar. So going back to your husband, he's a trucker, and yes, in fact, all new vehicles, I would basically say, by the way, they're all computers on wheels. I would highly suggest, and this is one of the things I want to talk to Gina about as far as mitigation of some of this stuff, whether you're underway in a Tesla or in a car or any new vehicle, you are being bombarded just with the computer systems on board. Those Teslas, when they are underway, they have got to be Kentucky frying every part of your body when you're in one of those things. So that's where grounding, I think, becomes even more important. Your husband, as a trucker, has got to stop. When he does, have him put his feet on the ground as much. I don't care if he goes in there to go fill up gas. Look, you can ground on concrete. You can ground in any way possible. But when he goes to sleep at night, he, of all people, should. And if you're driving a Tesla, y'all, I'm working on mitigation methods for people that are in that. I didn't want to talk about it publicly yet. But you need to be grounding. It's more important for you because you are being Kentucky fried while you're doing those things. Anything you want to add to that, Gina?
Yes. Your husband is a prime candidate for the grounding rod. So he will be able to ground himself in the truck while he sleeps. He's just going to be he needs to be near grass or a place where he can put that rod in the ground. He's going to have 55 feet of cord. I 100% recommend that he gets grounded while he's at least sleeping. And then when he does you get to a stop, if he can go put his feet in the grass, like Billy was saying, 100%, you need to be doing that. And it's just a really hard thing because these truckers are just getting hit because they're passing every single cell tower on the highways, and that's where they're placing them. So it's really sad that the truckers are having to go through this. So I hope that helps. Definitely get a grounding mat or a grounding sheet and then use the rod.
Gina, I'll tell you what else is just absolutely insidious is there's a school not far from me, and I really, really, really need to make a video on this. And they have a 5G tower at this school. It's a Christian school, and so they have a cross out in front of this school, and I kid you not, people are not even going to believe me when I say this. The top of that cross, it's a big white cross. It's right along I-26. If anybody ever wants to see it, it's near Weaverville, North Carolina. The top of that cross is a 5G tower, and they got kids, not only at this school, but every single school out there. They are Kentucky frying these kids while they're sitting in these doggone classrooms. And folks, if you got to send your kids to school with a grounding mat, please do, because they are being absolutely bombarded. It is right there at the school. And here's the crazy thing about it is when I went out there with the EMF meter at the base of that tower, there's very little radiation. It's when you walk away from that thing and I need to measure what that distance is. And then all of a sudden this thing is pegging off the doggone charts, and they got kids. So it's not, I mean, you're being Kentucky Fried every single, look, folks, you just got to assume that it's happening all the time, which is part of what I want to talk to Gina about offline, and maybe some other product additions. But speaking of products out there, Gina, what else you got? I know that you have a new Faraday bag out there.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Yes. And I just want to say it's redemptionshield.com, and make sure to use the code PERMA, PERMA. You save 10% on top of the already 10%. So you save 20% today. We have the new Faraday crossbody bag with double silver. So this is brand new, and I'm sending one to you, Billy, for having me on. Thank you so much. I'll send one for Michelle as well. Woohoo!
That's what I'm talking about. Let's get those hearts out there. I
love it.
You can tell, for those that are listening to the audio, basically hearts are flying across the screen right now. So yeah.
Yes. So we have the new crossbody bag. It comes in 2 pockets. Actually, there's a second or a third one that's real small, but these 2 pockets, one is the pocket you can still get a phone call, and the second pocket with double silver military grade fabric is actually the one that's full Faraday. So that will block any calls. So this is going to be great for the new iPhone 15. Now I want to kind of explain, if you have seen bags that didn't work in the past, sadly, what's happened is our iPhones and our phones have only gotten more powerful. So what used to work maybe back with iPhone 6 and 7, it's not even going to help at all with iPhone 14 and 15 or your other phones. So that is why we just made the double material, because as this continues to grow, we're going to have to think of new ways to block this EMF. And 6G, I just hope the Lord comes before then, because 6G is going to make us want to never be outside. And it's when you really start to learn about it, it's very insidious. And God help us, you know, this is part of the 2030 agenda. So anyway, I also want to say that as far as new products go, we're going to be thinking about potentially helping people with skiff rooms. Skiff rooms are just rooms that maybe our government entities will use to completely block a room. And so right now we have the bed canopies, we have curtains, we have the grounding mats, but we're going to have to think even bigger going forward. And we can talk more about that, Billy. But that's on my mind and on my heart. And I know the Lord is putting that on my mind and heart right now, because we have, 5 years, 5.5 years, and, they'll start rolling this out before 2030. They'll slowly start rolling it out. So we need to start preparing now, and grounding is number one. That will be a lifesaver for all of us. But we do need to be thinking about these shielding modalities going forward. So yeah, you've got the Wi-Fi router covers. If you have Wi-Fi in your home, you definitely need to get a copper cover. I want to show you just real quick how this works. So we've got that meter that makes sound, and I'm just going to put that copper right over the top. Look at that.
Wow.
And I'll take it back out. So that a Wi-Fi router cover should be in every home that has a Wi-Fi or a router. You're just going to slip that over the top. Now, every home is going to have a different experience with that, Billy, because some routers are the new 5G. They're so powerful that this is just going to blunt it, okay? With older routers that may be 3 or 4 years old, it will block too good. So in that case, you're going to lift up an inch at a time until you find a good sweet spot. So these are very affordable. They're under $40. I highly recommend this in your home. And if you can, Put your Wi-Fi on a Christmas timer where it turns off every night at 11 o'clock and then back on at 6 in the morning. That way you're turning off that high frequency radiation in your home.
I am
Now,
so
another
glad you
thing
mentioned that.
I want to mention, Billy, is everyone needs to know where their smart meter is on their house. Is it near a bedroom? Is it on the other side of the wall of your bedroom or a child's bedroom? That is more serious, and you do need to get some there. You can go to any kind of hardware store and get some stainless steel or aluminum mesh. You're going to need to put that up on the inside of your wall, plus the military grade fabric we sell, and you're going to have to mitigate that whole wall, because that smart meter is the most powerful device on your home by far. And I know you've tested that. Remember testing that?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. No, I'm so glad you brought it up. I tested everything you discussed. In fact, the router cover, I put that thing over our router, and like you said, it will blunt the signal. I mean, for it to operate, it has to work to some extent. But the signal in most cases is 10 times more than what you need. So you can still get all the benefits of your router, but blunt the full blast of that signal just by using that router cover. So I've done exactly that. It blunted so much of the signal that we had that I had to literally lift this thing up like a little top hat until I could find that sweet spot where I could still get what was needed. But Gina, I am so glad you brought up the fact that you have got to turn these things off at night. When we had other people living in our house with us, it was one of the bane of their existence was the fact that I would turn that thing off every single night, because it is that profound. It is destroying your sleep. And, crazy enough, I will tell you that I have forgotten a time or two. And whereas before I started grounding while I slept, I could tell the difference. I could tell that thing was left on all night. And then other crazy things would happen, which I'm not even sure I can talk about publicly. Well, I found out that when I would forget, when I was grounded, no consequence at all. But look, it's just a bad idea anyway, y'all. Even if you're being grounded at the same time, turn the stupid thing off at night. Your kids are probably going to be upset about it, but they need to get off those devices anyway. In fact, if you think they're going to sneak it, take the cord, unplug it from the wall, and put it in the room with you, because you're going to have some folks out there. Yeah. Rachel's asking, I'm in an older house. I think, Rachel, I know you're coming in a little bit late here, but it's okay. I'm in an older house, and I'm not sure if my outlets are grounded properly. Okay. So
I have the answer.
There you go. I'm glad you're holding it.
No, that's so amazing, Rachel, because before we started the podcast, I felt the Lord tell me, and I've never brought this on a podcast, but the Lord told me, bring this. So it was for you, Rachel, because he loves you. But it is a little grounding tester, and you can find it at any hardware store for $5, $7. I mean, it's very inexpensive. You plug it right into your outlet, and these two little yellow lights will come on, and you'll know that your house is properly grounded. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah,
and you can do that with
anywhere.
any outlet that you use. So that was for you, Rachel.
There you go. That thing, folks, it is ubiquitous. You can find it every single place. Any hardware store will have one of those. It's a outlet. They'll call it an outlet tester. And Gina, can you hold it up and maybe bring it a little closer to the camera so everybody knows what they're looking for? Bam. Yeah, there's different brands out there. Ideal makes one. I believe Klein makes one. There's a number of them out there, y'all, and they all work about the same way. And if you doubt it, go to an outlet where you are sure, you're reasonably sure, even in a public place if you have to. Go try it out there and see, oh, okay, this is what it should look like, and then maybe take it home and check it out. And then, like Gina said, if you don't have grounded outlets, she sells things right there at the website that will get you squared away, whether it's the grounding rod, you can stick it through a window, you can still shut the window. You can still make all those things function with all that stuff. So I am so glad. Gina, I'll be honest with you. I was, I'm not a salesman. I never have been. I can only stand up and promote things that I know work and things that I absolutely support. There is not a single advertiser on this podcast that where I'm not 100% sure of their product and how well it works, either from the seeds we sell, the soap we sell. And folks, of all the ones out there, the ones I'm most proud of, honestly, are EMP Shield and Redemption Shield. And in both cases, they didn't reach out to me. I reached out to them. And in Gina's case, where I hit up all these other people out there selling this stuff, not one person, when I told them I'm a journeyman electrician, not one of them said, oh, yeah, let's just send this right on over, because I wasn't looking for an affiliate deal. I was just looking for something that actually works. And I said, would you be okay if I did a video about this? You were the only one. So it speaks a lot of concerning your integrity. You were the only one that said, okay. And believe me, I hit them all up. So, and then you went on to say, look, if it doesn't work out, let me know. So, hats off to you. I love what you do. I love all the wonderful things you have out there. And offline, I want to talk to you about a couple of things you might want to consider that you might want to add to what it is you sell. I could go out there and make this stuff myself, y'all. Look, I'm in the permaculture business. I'm not in the shielding business. She is, and she's going to get you all squared away, y'all.
Hey, Billy, I want to tell you one last thing, and we didn't get it added in, and I think it's so important for your listeners, and then we can part ways here. But I want each and every one of you to go to antennasearch.com. Antennasearch.com. Put in your address and see how many towers are within a mile of your home. This is critical, and you need to know where they are. And then get yourself a meter and start measuring for hot spots in your home. I really appreciate you, Billy, your wife, all that you do. I mean, I love watching your show, and I don't even have a homestead. I don't have property, but I'm like, one day when I do, I'm going to have so much knowledge because of Billy and Michelle. So I really appreciate you just, even covering such an odd topic as EMF protection, because it's invisible, and there's a lot of people that don't believe that there's a problem, and which I don't understand how that could even be possible. But there are more people who are more aware than ever before of these needs. So I hope everything that we got to talk about today was a benefit to your listeners. Please let Billy know if you enjoyed the show today, if you liked it, and use the code PERMA and save more money when you come to redemptionshield.com. And I thank you so much, Billy.
Well, Gina, I wish you would have told me about that extra discount when I bought those last 3 grounding mats, but it's all good.
You got it.
I am so, no, I know I'm messing with you. I am honestly so glad, honestly, that you and I have gotten to know each other. And I want to cover 2 more electricians questions here before we sign off, but because they're kind of important. David's asking, and these are both fascinating questions. One of them on screen, first of all. Let me start with Earl. He says, can you ground to a vehicle frame? Absolutely. But I haven't empirically tested it myself, but theoretically, your radio won't work unless it's grounded in your vehicle. So potentially that could work. Until I test it, I'm not going to tell you, because you're on rubber tires at the end of the day. But at the same time, yes, if you ground to the chassis of your vehicle, it should theoretically, but let me test it before I give you a solid answer on that. And then David's also asking, would foil backed insulation have EMF insulating value? Yes, it does. But in most cases, that is not what's on your house. And honestly, when they put a smart meter on your house, half the time, I still have to get this done and test this myself. If you have some of that blocking insulation that they're putting in some of the newer homes where it has like it's like an aluminum foil on the outside of it, theoretically that should help, but you got studs in there. So there are areas where it's not going to help unless it is intentionally shielded all the way across those studs in the whole 9 yards. So those are 2 things that I have to absolutely positively work out for myself and get you solid answers on. And hopefully I'll do I got to do another update video, because I was going to use some of the fabric that Gina sent me as far as mitigation of the smart meter, because we have one on our house. And so I need to get that done. But like Gina was saying, y'all, that thing of all the devices out there, the two unexpected things that I did not know that were going to peg that doggone meter was, and I should have known it, was the microwave, number one. So it's not working as well as a Faraday cage as you think, because even 5 feet away now, the closer you get to that microwave, it's way more intense. So if you got to use a microwave, stand way back from it. Lately, I'm heating all my stuff up in the oven. And number two, this is the most unexpected thing. And Gina, you may not even know about this. When we were going through with the EMF meter, checking the whole doggone house, the one thing, I was like, where is this coming from? Everything is off except the TV. That TV, even though it wasn't turned on, it was plugged in. That thing was pegging that doggone meter. So folks, you got to unplug. I unplugged the TV. So that's another thing also you got to consider. That's why what Gina was talking about as far as EMF meters, you got to be thinking about that stuff as well, because some of these hot spots, these unexpected items were two things I didn't even consider. So, wow. And Link Wayne in here is saying, I gotta basically put this one up on screen. Link Wayne, fantastic musician, y'all. Go check out his YouTube channel. He says Redemption Shield, great company, but I'm telling you what, yeah. He's one of those guys also, y'all. If you haven't heard his music, it is off the meat wagon. And Link, I got to get with you because I'd love to use some of your music on the show. My man is playing 3 slides on his guitar at the same time, y'all. And it is just really solid, awesome music. So go check him out. He's in Texas near my son, and I'd love to get to meet him one of these days. But, as for now, it has been an immeasurable joy to meet you, Gina, and the wonderful products that you put out there. And I want to give everybody else out there, thank you so much for tuning into the live stream, and thank everybody that's going to be listening in the audio format as well. That's where the massive majority of this audience is. But folks, if you would, spread this information far and wide. The powers that shouldn't be don't want everybody out there to know that this stuff is going on. Please tell all your friends, all your families, take this video, spread it out to the people out there, and get the word out, because this is some fantastic stuff. And I want to thank everybody for being in here today. Until next time, stay alert, stay alive.
They don't want an individual, just a carbon copy. True spitting that manicotti, yeah, I'm talking saucy. All they want to build is a prison world full of pet Tamagotchis. Stepping kamikaze, got me out of body like I'm Goku SS3. They want to push me to the center like a cell. They want to spin up at the center of the nexus, me. They want me